Good day to everyone. Welcome to the second panel session of PETRONAS Future Talks 2021. Thank you for spending your time with us on this beautiful day. My name is Adrian Azli. I'm the Chief Digital Officer of PETRONAS, and I'll be your moderator for today. Today, we have indeed a stellar lineup with us. Four incredibly experienced panelists from a diverse background and from diverse industries. And today, we will bring insights from oil and gas, power, and the banking industry. Before we go on, please allow me to introduce the lineup that we have for you today. Our first panelist is Haji Bacho Pilong. He is the Senior Vice President of PETRONAS Project Delivery and Technology, or PDNT. Prior to this role, Haji Bacho has held several positions, including Vice President of Malaysia Assets, Vice President of International Assets, and Head of Production and Operations. Haji Bacho is also currently sitting on several PETRONAS companies and also chairing boards such as the PETRONAS Technical Services Sdn Berhad and Institute of Technology Sdn Berhad. Welcome to the panelists, Haji Bacho.
Thank you, Adrian. Pleasure to see you.
Thank you. Secondly, we have Kun Chatchai Kundachu Domkol. Kun Chatchai, apologies if I didn't say that correctly. It's not intended to, but Kun Chatchai is the Vice President Enterprise Transformation, PTTEP, who is currently responsible for enterprise transformation comprising digital, organizational, and new normal transformation. He has had 23 years experience in upstream oil and gas, and with both Shell and PTTEP, including Thailand and overseas. And Kun Chatchai's achievements includes he has covered 3 US patents, international conference papers, national and international awards. Welcome to the panel, Kun Chatchai. Thirdly, we have Yang Mulia Rajateh Maimuna from Bank. She's the Managing Director of Wholesale Banking, Bank Group. Yang Mulia Rajateh has got 25 years experience of financial services covering Islamic investment banking, wholesale, and digital banking. She was also the global head of Islamic markets at Bursa Malaysia. Rajateh is also a board member and board risk committee of Kumpulan Wang Persaraan, member of the board of trustees of Amanah Warisan Negara, and advisor on Islamic banking and finance, the World Islamic Economic Forum Foundation. Welcome to you as well, Rajateh. And last but not least, rounding up our esteemed panelists, we have Dato' IR Megat Jalaluddin bin Megat Hassan. And she is the Chief Retail Officer of the Retail Division in Tenaga Nasional Berhad, or TNB, responsible for delivering the aspirational vision of TNB as the leading retail company of the future. Dato' Megat has served multiple roles in his illustrious 30 years career and used to serve as the Chief Strategic Officer for TNB. He's also chairman of TNB's wholly owned subsidiaries TNBX Sdn Berhad and GSG Spark Sdn Berhad. And he's also the advisory board member of Asia IoT Business Platforms. Welcome to today's forum, to all the panelists. As you can see, the longer I have to read out the excerpts means that's how esteemed today's panelist is. So let's get the show on the road, as they say. The topic for today is digital ingenuity for business sustainability. Now, just to kick off, we've heard normally the term digital transformation, but digital ingenuity. Care to share some thoughts, Haji Bacho, on what does digital ingenuity means to you?
Thank you, Adrian. It's a very interesting question. And of course, it's a pleasure to meet up with esteemed colleague Rajateh, Datuk Megat, and also Kun Chatchai from Bangkok. You know, my perspective is this. The traditional thinking, Adrian, when you talk about digital as technology play, people always talk about transforming IT and technology. I think we need to think beyond that. Yeah, and for me, the way I look at it, number one, you must have that innovation element. you combine, you merge the digital and innovation, and you add on the customer centricity. So in simple terms, I would imagine you must have ideas, you must have innovation, you have entrepreneurship, and you couple this with technology and digital. Maybe this is a simple way of looking at what do we mean with digital ingenuity.
Thank you very much, Jibacho. And I think that's an interesting concept, that digital ingenuity goes beyond just IT, it goes just beyond technology. So maybe I would like to ask the second question to Kun Chak Chai. This concept of digital needing to change the way of working, disrupting the previous processes. What is your thoughts on this? And perhaps share some of your experience driving digital ingenuity and transformation within your company. Over to you, Kun Chak.
Thank you very much, Asli. So I would recall the global research. They mentioned about the 80% of the digital transformation is fail. Why? Because they didn't interface the digital with people. For PTTEP, not only digital transformation, but we also pursue the organization transformation in parallel. What does it mean? Organization transformation, we focus on 3 pillars: people, process, and mindset, to create the collaboration and ecosystem for the digital transformation success. By arranging the organization transformation activities, for example, design thinking workshop, agile workshop, camp for change, and digital citizen bootcamp to enhance the innovative culture. So we improve the mindset from the fixed to the growth mindset. We lean the work process from waterfall to agile, and our digital transformation. We focus for 4 areas: data foundation, data governance, digital solution, and digital capabilities. So we break the fragmented and segmented data silo to the centralized and structured data. Use the single source of truth using our Google Cloud platform. And we create the data lake and arrange the grouping for the data warehouse and the data mart for the people, for the staff to utilize all those data and turn those data into the knowledge. And we change the manual to the machine using the RPA, robotic process automation. We change the traditional report from a lot of text and number to the visualization for edit decision using the Microsoft Power Platform. We change the experience-based decision to the data-driven decision using the Python and advanced analytics. We turn all those unstructured data into the structured data and turn the data into the information, turn information to knowledge and to the wisdom, finding the insight by the data science and digital transformation methodology for our organization's sustainability. So we bridge the people with digital. We transform our people to embrace the digital ingenuity for the new working culture. And we execute across the value chain, corporate-wide, shaping the new working culture in 3 pillars: collaboration, ecosystem, and digital innovation. Thank you.
Thank you, Kun. Being in this line of work, data and innovation really holds true, and it's words that really resonates with me as well. Before we head over to banking and to power, perhaps another question from oil and gas to you, Ajibacho. I heard sometimes people say oil and gas is a paradox. It's an industry that is it's really a technological industry, but to a certain extent, it's also very conservative. It can be quite slow to adapt change and disruption. So how would you rate, or what is your views towards oil and gas ability to adapt to this digital disruption?
Yeah, let me, interesting question. And I, kind of align with my colleague also from the oil and gas industry. Kun Chat Chai. I think, Adrian, it boils down to the risks we are talking about in this. I mean, this is a high capex, high risk business. I mean, that's there's a nature of this business, right? Drilling a well can cost you fortune, massive investment. That's why, that sense of risk averse, right? But, with this advancement of digital and technology, I think time has come. And in PETRONAS, we have this aspiration that we need to become number one. Is always about safety. It's about license to operate. Number two is always about having a portfolio which is resilient, right? Regardless of ups and downs. It's a bit. If you look at the last couple of years, somehow the window of this turmoil is getting narrow and narrow. The last downturn was 14, 15, we were about to recover. We have MCO, we went down, and then now we're recovering back, alhamdulillah. Thanks. You mentioned about the oil price. That's the second one. Number three is, moving into the future, I don't think we got much choice. We must be low cost, with this pressure on energy transition. And Malaysia in particular, PETRONAS, we are not blessed like our friends in the Middle East with tons of reserve and whatnot. And number three, this is very important, number three. The fourth one, low carbon. As the world demand for low carbon solution in combating this climate agenda, I don't think we got much choice. We have to embrace change and we have to be adaptable to change. I'll be repeating some of it's quite interesting. Somehow, we kind of think alike in terms of, I don't know, we oil and gas. Maybe that's the reason why we kind of think alike. So number one is technology adoption. How do we embrace technology? Number two is about, my friend Kun talk about the 3P, right? People, process, plan. Similar as well in our thinking. It must be addressing the mindset of the people. Number two is addressing the work processes, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the third one, this is quite interesting. I think the third one is quite interesting because I don't think we got much choice. Traditionally, we've been very conservative in terms of who do we partner with. I think moving into the future, we will have to embrace what I call non-traditional partnership. I will elaborate some more. I'll give you an interesting example, Adrian. In Malacca, I'm sure my colleague understand what I mean. In Malacca, we have our refinery. This is quite an aging refinery. It meant to process crude for Malaysia and also import for domestic consumption. So we deploy some digital solution, right? Some tools. Well, in PETRONAS we call it ARIS solution, right? And same plan, same people, but by combining the so-called domain engineering and data science, we can unlock values. This is amazing, right? Yeah. Same people, same plan. The only difference that I'm bringing in domain expert, I'm bringing data scientists, marry them together, merge them, converge them, and suddenly we see opportunities and we unlock real value. It's not ideas. It's a real value in terms of efficiency, in terms of product spec, in terms of what can come into the refinery and whatnot. So this is really amazing and an eye-opener to many of us. So basically, if we really adopt this digital and technology, we can really bring many new value to the business. Let me add on the other bit in terms of ecosystem. My friend talked about ecosystem as well. So in the oil and gas, the operator alone, I don't think we can move much because there are many supporting systems, the vendors, the suppliers. We have to bring everyone on board to bring that really move the needle as a whole. It's an industry by itself, right? So I'm sure you are aware the kind of people coming in, thousands of Malaysians involved in the context of Malaysia, and the same goes with our friend in Thailand as well. So we need to bring on board the ecosystem. And the third is quite interesting, the so-called non-traditional partnership. This is I'm sure my friend Kun Chacha as well, I'm sure you also embark on this So now, normally in the past, our partners are always the like, more or less our peers, right? Exxon, Shell. But nowadays, I'm and I'm open. We have partnership with the like of Microsoft, with the like of Tata Consulting, even the like of Amazon, AWS, and we believe we are complementing. I mean, they bring values to the table, and we believe that will help the overall journey in terms of transforming through digital and also technology. And maybe another interesting thing I can share as well here with the platform. We recently launched in August when I come to the seat, our digital economy. This is an interesting story. So digital is not, you need to equip, we about 48,000 people in Petronas, and alhamdulillah, we have trained about maybe 10,000 of our colleagues become citizen analytics, right? And now you have the domain expert in terms of running your plant, your offshore installation. Now we add on with this. Now, even you are not data scientists, right? You can exploit, for instance, Power BI. Suddenly you have tools in front of you that can help running the plant more efficient, less cost, less people, and safer. I think it meet the aspiration I mentioned about the 4 elements: safe, resilient, low cost, and low carbon.
Wow.
I hope that gives you flavor of what we are doing in Petronas.
Yeah, fully agree with Ajibajo. May I add something?
Sure.
Yeah, fully agree with my friend Ajibajo, non-traditional partnership, and we are aligned partner with the Google and Microsoft Thailand to and arrange the digital citizen bootcamp to enhance our data citizenship, digital citizenship for the staff, and try to let them embed all the digital ingenuity to utilize all the data and turn those data into the insight information. And that what you mentioned, the plan unlocking the real value. That's the truly hit to the point. The digital transformation is beyond the digitization. It's beyond the digitalization. Now you are talking about digitalization. That's what you creating the value. And the interesting point, one thing, the paradox for oil and gas. That's true. I recall the paper I used to I read the paper last month from Harvard Business School. Mr. Kane. It's quite the popular paper. It's about 1,000 citations. He did the research, and he mentioned that the oil and gas industry is a laggard. It's the number 5 at the bottom compared to 20 industry sector in terms of the digital transformation. That's true. That what you are talking about is paradox for the oil and gas. It's quite the I think we adopt the digitalization 20, 30 years ago. We not just wake up, oh yeah, let's do it. Let's bring the digital into this industry. No, in your time, right, Ajibajo?
Yeah.
We use the SCADA, right? Supervisory control and data acquisition. We use the DCS, distributed control system in the control room, right? In the production process, in the production plant, in the offshore platform, right? We use the measure while drilling MWD. We use logging while drilling LWD. 20 years ago, we not just pick up, but that's all the digital technology, digital tools, right? But now we try to turn all those data into information and wisdom, and turn it to the benefit and the real value. Thank you.
Thanks, Kun Chai and Haji Bacho. I think there's in the oil and gas they always say that data is the new oil, right? And analytics is the new refinery, and insights is the new products. Right. So on that note, thank you very much. We see a lot of congruency among the oil and gas gang here. Now let's move over to a new industry, which is finance. And just to quote another Harvard Business Review paper, this one was quite dated, 7 years ago. I think it was about 2015. And even back then, they ranked the industries that's going to be most disrupted by digital innovation. Yeah, and correct. Banking was, I think, in the top 3. So on this aspect, I want to hand over to Rajate. With the hindsight of 7 years now has passed, what do you think this is true? Do you think that digital has disrupted the banking industry, the finance industry? And I guess what have you done to in your industry and in your organization to perhaps pivot and perhaps enable it to be digital ready to face this disruption? Over to you, Rajate.
The thing is, a lot of people talk about the banking industry no differently than the oil and gas. They, amongst critics, we say, oh, laggards, we're not picking up because fintechs are so ahead of us. But the reality is, if we've always been at the forefront of innovation. The first ATM was actually rolled out in 1967. It was a Barclays Bank branch, except that what has happened in the last 10 years was the rise of the disruptors. And back in 1994, Bill Gates actually said this. He said that banking is necessary, but banks are not. And not many people understood what he said at all. This was in 1994. And then in 2015, Bill Gates again said that he predicts that by 2030, he said that 2 billion people who don't have bank accounts will be doing banking using their mobile phones. And this was in 2015 when we didn't, in Malaysia, you didn't have mobile banking yet. We have seen in our industry a rise of multitude things, but partly I also think was the failure of the banking industry to reach out to a segment of people. We call it the underserved. So we serve Petronas for sure, but can we serve the food truck guy? So that was how the fintechs came. And you would have heard about M-Pesa in Kenya. I mean, the story of M-Pesa is amazing. Kenya in 2006 has something like only 10% people with bank accounts. But today, almost 84% have got access through M-Pesa. And M-Pesa is not a bank. It's a mobile company. It's a phone company. It's Vodafone. But the use of the phone allows you to make payments, and eventually they do small-time lending. And that is where the big disruption comes now. How banks have always operated on a very simple note is we take your money and lend it to someone else. But if you come and say, I want to borrow money, the first thing a bank does is, please give me your financial statements. That's how we assess credit. But the fintechs no longer use traditional methods to credit score. They could use, when you talk about data being the new oil, that's really it. They use behavioral data. They use transaction data. Maybe they check, oh, Haji Bacho, when does he pay his tenaga bills? Does he pay it on the first of the month or until dah nak potong, only that he will pay his bill? With those kind of data, when he pays his mobile phone, when he pays his tenaga bills, right? Those kind of data is used to build a credit profile. And if you run a food truck, if I ask you, give me 3 years financial statement, you don't have it, right? So I will look at all these kind of data, cash flows that's come in, through your customers and how you pay your suppliers, your spending patterns. And that is pretty much what we've done also here. I mean, in Malaysia, all the banks, including our own, we have also built a digital lab. And in our digital lab, one of the first things that my focus had been was to position ourselves as what I would call a sponsor bank to the wallet players. So you have the wallet guys like Boost, you have Touch and Go, you have all these guys, but they don't have access to the payment switch. It has to come through a bank. So we figured, since we've spent so much money on infrastructure, and this is when you talk about collaboration, Aji, with non-traditional partners, this is exactly where we've come in. I have never looking at these guys as competitors. I've had to go and learn about digital banking because, I'm a over 25-year-old and above. I've been doing this industry for so long. When I first started working, we only worked on WordStar and Lotus 123. So very long time ago.
You remind us the old days.
Very old days. So we are now, and then I had to go and learn. I had to spend time with young people. I had to spend with fintech guys, who think very differently than us. The key for us right now in terms of addressing disruption, in my view, is really 3 things. The first is first and foremost, is CX, is customer experience. Banks, up till now, we never design products with customer experience in mind. We design products and we sell to you. You like or you don't like, this is it. But then now you have a choice. You don't like our service, you want to remit money, you go to all the other remittances companies. You can borrow money from other places. So suddenly we're thinking about CX. And I think all industries has been disrupted. It has been disrupted because we fail to look at customer experience. Secondly, the focus has got to be mobile first, even in PETRONAS. Even if you talk about Settle, right? Why? Why did you come up with things like this? Because brand loyalty no longer exists, except for Tanaga, because it's still, monopoly. But the rest, I can drive into any gas station and pump my petrol, right? So what is the one thing that will make me loyal to you? So it really, a mobile first, the interaction through mobile, because that's the only thing you won't leave home without. You can leave your wallet, you can leave your children, but you won't leave your phone behind. So mobile first. And third is what you've been talking about. What we need to do is data. We need to learn how to use the data to personalize the service to you. So I want to be able to pick up, and then Datuk Megat would get a ting and say, oh, Datuk, would you like to buy this? Because we know Datuk Megat likes a particular kind of thing. So we have not harnessed that, but the amount of data, particularly in a bank, because I know all your spending habits by right, your credit card, your debit card, what you buy. All we need to learn how to do, which is what we're currently doing, is putting that, and so that we can start personalizing to you. But of course, all that is like work in progress. And in Malaysia, if you can see the collaboration, like I said, with e-wallets. So I stand behind a number of the e-wallets in this country. And the other thing that we've done as an industry is the establishment of the QR, right? I want to tell you, you think, okay, everybody's done the QR code drama to try to get a national standard QR. Everybody wanted to have their own. So we managed to standardize this. This conversation started in 2011. 2011. This is finally in 2021 only you have a national standard QR. And Do It Now transfer. We've been piloting Do It Now forever. The idea is I just want to be able to transfer mobile to mobile. So that the industry has come a long way in response. But I have to say that we have the means. We have the means, but maybe not necessarily the mindset. So maybe we'll take that in the next conversation.
Thank you very much, Rajate. And thank you for the shout out for Settle as well. I would like to, I have a follow-up question, but maybe we go ahead, go to Datuk Megat first. And this is also what Raja kind of touched upon in her piece just now. And when we actually did an internal questionnaire before this among my department, and we said that in Malaysia, which is the industry or the company that you think will not be disrupted or will not have to face this digital disruption? And TNB came pretty high because they said that it's still the major energy provider. They're not under any pressure to do this. And yet, TNB, I know, has gone very aggressive in their digital transformation. So I guess I found that really interesting. Is this foresight, perhaps? And perhaps you can elaborate that to what's driving this. If everyone feels there's no need, and yet internally you're driving it so aggressively, what's the thinking? What's the drive behind this?
Thank you very much for the questions, and thank you very much for Raja Maimuna for the closeness with Tenaga Nasional. So if we look from the power industry in the past, we can see that the traditional power industry value chain is always about centralized generations, and we have this transmission tower and distribution, and we supply direct to the customers. So these are the traditional value chain that we have seen in the past. But over the years, recent years, we have seen some kind of involving the value change with respect to the availability of technology from the generation point of view, whereby now the customers are now able to generate power by themselves. So we are seeing the rise of what we call the prosumers, customers that can also produce, but at the same time consume for themselves. So that is one major shift respect to the power industry. And we're also seeing a lot of so-called distributed generation, the small solar plant, the small gas plant that can happen within the power industry. So this gives the challenge to the industry, the convergence of the generation and the customers. And we see that this is actually being enabled by the availability of digital technology. Digital technology enables this to happen, of course, with the support of the new generation technology, as well as the drive of the customer to participate in this so-called industry. So you may see the disruptions may not be in the form of the monopolistic position of utility, but you can see that the industry is now being challenged, whereby the customers want to participate in the industry. So we can see the convergence of digital renewal generations, as well as the customers' participation becoming the new play for the power sector. So this is where also we have to basically evolve to facilitate this, to facilitate and accommodate this shift. And one of the elements that we are creating is that we are putting up what we call the grid of the future, so that we should be able to accommodate and facilitate the distributed generation, the solar rooftop by the customers. But at the same time, in the future, you may see that the trading of energy is actually from peer-to-peer rather than from the utility to the customers. So this is the future direction we are going to see, and we are putting up an infrastructure because to ensure that we can facilitate and accommodate these changes. And apart from this infrastructure, the anchor of the infrastructure is all about data and communication, in which we define digitalization is all about data and being able to communicate or use the data, communicate it all over the place as part of the digitalization process. So we can see that this also address what we call the conversation with respect to sustainability, with respect to decarbonization of the industry, whereby the solar generation from the rooftop, for example, will provide those drive towards lower carbon emission. And we can also see the trend of decentralization of power generation. So in power industry, we recognize there are three major trends that is happening. One is actually decarbonization. Second is decentralization. And the third one is, of course, digitalization. So if we combine these three trends, this is the one that will basically move forward the industry further. But at the same time, those also pose some challenges to the incumbent like Tenaga Nasional. So here, I think for us, we have no reason to be scared about this. So we are trying to embrace the challenges that being put to us, and we also see another scoping that can give us the competitive advantage in the industry, because we have the so-called the customers with us. Today, Tenaga has we have about 9.6 million customers. So this is where another platform of digitalization can happen. And when we look from the customer perspective, we see the opportunity for a company like Tenaga to embrace this digitalization, to give a better customer experience, better services to our customers in the form of customer solution, digital customer solution, and also digital customer interaction. And we are glad to say that the initiative that we have put forward with respect to the customer space of digitalization is making progress. and we introduced one apps which is equivalent to Settle in that sense. It is called My TNB apps. And over the last 3 years, the subscription level of this My TNB apps has gone tremendously. And I must say that this is one of the silver lining of COVID-19, whereby we can see the customers moving into digital channel compared to the physical channel that we have. And the My TNB apps now have a subscription of 5.3 million customers, which is almost 50% of our customer base. So we see that the customers is actually also adopting to this digital lifestyle, which is fittingly with the intention of company like Tenaga Nasional. So overall, I think it is definitely a positive development we can see. And we know very well that it is validated now that the customers are actually empowered by digital. And this is the way forward for us with respect to giving the best solution as well as interaction with our customers. So overall, we can see that we are adopting the digitalization from the supply point of view as well as from the demand side point of view. So those are some of the things that's happened in the power sector, and we believe again, with respect to the partnership, definitely we are also looking at this non-traditional partnership, and we are talking to probably some of the banking sector, for example, who wants to connect with us with respect to offering services like insurance to our customers. Insurance for our solar rooftop, for example, as part of the whole customer offering to the Malaysian public as a whole. So we see this as a positive development for industry, and this is definitely an exciting time for the power industry with respect to digitalization, whereby in the past power industry has been known to be the laggards of this kind of technology, compared to the banking sector, for example, or even to the telco players.
Thank you, Dato'. I have to proudly declare that I'm one of the 500 million users, happy user of my TNB.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay, when we talk about disruption, the common thinking is again about external disruption to an industry or a company. But there's also sometimes what I call internal inertia against change, against disruption, especially if there's already either large investments or a steady revenue stream. So I'd just like to go back to Rajate and talk about internal inertia against disruption and change from the banking industry, because I know, for example, you have your banks that you've already invested in, you've got all your branches, and now you have to pivot and I guess disrupt internally. Was there change, and how did you go about driving that internal disruption?
In the most difficult possible way.
Sometimes it's harder than external, right?
It's because the banking industry, we have built based on technology for perhaps way before most other industries. Our investment in the core banking system, for instance, costs us hundreds of millions of bucks, and branch network. So digital transformation to me, when I embarked on this, by the way, I'm kind of new kid on the block too. It was only 2011 when I figured that if I didn't do this, our business would just kind of fold over. So, and I thought it was all about technology. And then I figured out technology was abundance. The problem was the transformation is not about that. It was about people. So it is particularly challenging. I don't know whether, gentlemen, you share my experience, is that it is particularly challenging in a multi-generational workforce. Because I have two sets of challenges. One is to convince my paymasters that we need to pivot, that we need to make the investments, and then we have to re-engineer our business model. Very difficult. People above my pay grade. and then the employees. Because then technology is evolving at a rapid pace. And like I said, how do you get your employees to also move with you at the same time? The biggest challenge in trying to pitch to, like I said, our paymasters is because we are largely profitable till this very day. COVID, no COVID, we're still profitable, right? And so they're very less inclined to change the business model. So how we have done, and the experience I've had, and maybe I'd like to share with the rest, is when you stand before your paymasters, when you stand before your leadership, you actually have to convince them that this is your request is vital to their business. So when you walk into that boardroom, you are walking in an environment where skepticism is the default. So you have to convince them why. And one of the stories that I told, because I went away to learn and I came back and I repeated and to sound like an expert in the field, was I had to tell the story of the Kodak moment and the colossal failure of Kodak. Until you believe that that is possible, that could happen to you, because Kodak fell off the cliff, not gradually. It literally fell off the cliff. And we, in our industry, we can see already people moving our cheese. So the approach is really right? You have to be descriptive about what's happening around you. And then you have to give the diagnostic about, what's wrong with it. And you must also be able to predict when you tell your leadership, like, look, if we don't do this, we're going to land there. Everybody else is going to go somewhere else. And then you provide some kind of a prescription. How we have done it, honestly, because it's not so much like I don't think it's inertia. I think it's huge resistance, at least with the banking industry. So you have to show them the money. To your paymasters, you have to show at the end of the day, this makes sense. I'm not building a rocket to go to the moon. There is ROI in here. So what we've done in the initial stages, because where we are today, mBank, we've really focused on a lot of digital solutions for our clients. We are, I would think, in the forefront of payments for companies like Tenaga and even PETRONAS, is to show bite sizes. That's what I do. Pilot projects, small wins, because you got to prove to them that we know what we're doing. We say we want to do something new, but we've never done it. And, particularly management, most of us, we were born during the time when we were still using cassette players, right? And you want to tell your paymasters that you know how to build this thing to go to the moon? So you cannot go to the table and say, 300 million bucks, give it to me, and I promise you I'll return 3 billion. It has to be small wins, pilot, bite sizes. Very painful, but you got to win them over, because your board or your paymasters collectively. This is when I talk about multi-generational, right? And then you come to your employees. The multi-generational employees is really tough, at least in a bank, because we have digital natives, and I'm sure in your industry, who are thinking, why on earth are we still doing things like this? What is wrong with you guys, right? So it is important that we have to, what we did was we set the vision. And number two, we develop a digital strategy, which keeps moving. By the way, you can't say this is a 3-year digital strategy and it doesn't change. And thirdly, you have to communicate to the guys that we are going on this, we are building this rocket ship. Fourth, what we did was also we engaged early adopters and influencers, champions within us, people who are keen to do it. You will have those who are not keen for many other reasons. Some are fearful, like, people in the branch. What if you go entirely digital? Will I still have my job? So people are afraid. Or people who are just are really afraid of technology, and they're so used to, by the way, in banks, right? People still process paper invoices. And you want to talk about distributed ledger technology? What, right? So you need to adopt that. Fifth is you have to spend money and time to educate and train, peer-to-peer learning. And what I've also noticed, so the sixth thing that we have done is we've celebrated small victories along the way. Small mandates, that we win from companies, from the state governments. So those are small wins. I wanted to say something like what Kun Chai said. I think the biggest failure, because I've gone through this in the 10 years, so I tell you where the 4 areas that why we fail is because we are unable to experiment quickly. When you want to do small pilot projects, the decision to make that pilot project is as though you want to embark on a whole brand new power plant. Actually, you want to do something small only, right? So we need to be quick. And then, of course, you have these legacy systems. People will protect. I have spent billions on this. Are you kidding me, right? And then in all industries, our companies is our inability to work across the silos. That kills it. It just kills it because different business lines, right? So you just you're unable to do that. And then the fourth thing is I noticed is collaboration between IT and business. Because Ajibacho, you said something. Digital enablement is not about IT, but the people who guard IT themselves may not understand digital transformation, right? But of course, the fifth and foremost that hangs where I see today is the risk-averse culture. Why you want to go and poke into something that's not broken, and then when we are doing okay and making money. So, you know, so the 2 stakeholders would be your paymasters and your employees. But we're getting there slowly. I tell stories of putting fear of God that, we're going to wake up and we're going to disappear. So that way I get some money to experiment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think taking cognizance of the time, if I may, I'm going to, and I think what's really amazing about this panel is that we started out almost as strangers, different industries, different geography. And I don't know about the rest of the gentlemen and Rajate, but the resonance, I think it's so familiar, right? And I think this really drives that point that digitalization is really critical in order to ensure, irrespective of which industry and where you are, which geographical location, it is super critical in driving sustainability. And I think we can definitely see the common themes. I feel connected to all our panelists, but just cognizant of the time, we're going to do a speed round where I'm going to go through each of the panelists, and maybe if you can just do one quick word of what is the most critical factor in driving digital transformation to you or to your industry, and a bit of a why, and maybe we'll just go through all 4 panelists on this quick round. Can we do that? One word that drives digital transformation, the most important one in what comes first to mind? And maybe we'll start the ball rolling with Dato' Magat. Can you take it over, Dato'?
Looking ahead, what we can foresee is that with respect to digitalization, how best the company take the growth together with data digitalization. In the sense that it is a question of how do we monetize data for growth. So that would be the questions organization like Tenaga would like to answer, and this is where the objective for us is about growth using digitalization, monetization of data. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dato'. Over to you, Kun Chai.
All right, so thank you. The key success factor for digital transformation in oil and gas, I would say to achieve long-term aspiration of the digital transformation, we need the strong support from top management, the right culture and mindset from all levels, and the purpose must be clarified and accepted together. So 3 key success factors, 3 core pillars: leadership, purpose, and mindset. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kun Chai. Very succinct, very clear. Over to you, Rajate.
One word, tenacity. That's it.
It's not for the faint-hearted, eh?
No, it's not. And all the best to all of us.
Thank you. And maybe just to round it off, Ajibacho, over to you.
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, dear colleagues. In fact, I just leave you with 3 words, Adrian. And this is the message I've been driving day in, day out to my team. Number 1, we must always believe data is an asset. Number 2, digital is an accelerator. And number 3, technology is a differentiator. If we embrace this, I think we will survive in the next many, many years.
Thank you very much. So on that note, thank you very much to all our panelists for that insightful session. I hope you enjoyed yourself as much as I enjoyed moderating this session. And I think if there's one idea that came out, it's really the role of digital is definitely here to stay to ensure sustainability of our companies and our industry. So on that note as well, I'd like to once again thank you all the panelists and thank you to all the viewers for joining us today for the panel discussion, panel number 2 in PETRONAS Future Talks 2021. Have a good day and thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.
Bye bye.